Good morning to everybody. Unfortunately, I don't have a colorful visual or the PowerPoint presentation. I just quickly put together this presentation yesterday night, so please bear with me. My slides are not as colorful as Chris, I suppose. Now, what I'm going to sort of explain, I suppose. The work what you have done in engineering, including some of these online technologies as a part of our teaching. Now, at this stage, we use lectures and tutorials as the main mode of teaching in engineering. Now, the tutorials are part of our the delivery. Now, generally what we do is we conduct the tutorials just after the lectures. Now, in engineering, as you know, that there are a lot of numerical examples. We cover the theory in the lectures. Then afterwards, what we do is we set some numerical examples, and those numerical examples are basically worked on by the students. That gives them a bit of a practical relevance of the theoretical equations or the concepts we teach in the lectures. So as I said, it's mainly used to illustrate the theory covered in the lecture. Now, recently we started using these online quizzes. I myself started using these online quizzes since last year. Now, initially I started them as a practice quiz, but now what I'm trying to do with my units is allocating certain weighting for completing those online quizzes. Now, how we set up is we set up these online quizzes every week. They are just open just after the lecture. The whole idea is, students go over the lecture and go and do these the quizzes, and they are open for the entire week. And the students are generally required to understand the material before going and doing these quizzes. So we got at this stage we got both the tutorials and the online quizzes sort of set up for my unit. I think quite a few other units I think they're still using just the tutorial. Now, which is sort of better? This is the question probably I've been sort of asking myself since last year. Whether we go with the online quizzes or just the tutorial. Now, which I would like to get your opinion on this. So to put your opinion, can you go to if you've got an iPad, just go onto this website here. Set up a simple question there. This is the access code 131014. So you just have to it's a poll. Just have to choose whether the tutorial. You need to choose either one of them, tutorial or online quiz. So I'll see which one you think is appropriate. As I said, tutorial is sort of a passive type of learning tool. So where we give a particular example to the student, and the student basically go through and then solve it. And during that time, they can discuss with other students and then submit the solution. Online quiz, they are sort of given a 1 week time. They can do in their own time. They will have an opportunity to go back and look at the lecture material and then understand and then put in, the attempt the online quiz. So there are different, sort of delivery methods. So I would like to see what do you think is the best one in terms of meeting the learning objectives of the students. So let me just go back to GoSoapBox. So, okay, we got about 23 people here, I suppose. Okay, I'll just give a couple more. Few more seconds. Okay, so this is a sort of this is your opinion. So 61% is saying that tutorial is the best way to go to achieve the learning objectives, and online quizzes about 38%. Okay, this is what I thought too. Initially the tutorials are the better way to sort of achieve the learning objectives. But let me present the data now. So what we did was in the first session of this year, we looked at some of the data what we produced from my unit in the autumn session. I sort of use this concept to use both the tutorial and the online quizzes for infrastructure engineering unit, which is sort of a third-year unit. Now what I did was I set up the assessment this way. The online quizzes was 5%, tutorial participation was 5%, and then of course we got the project reports and the final exam. Those are the 30 and 60% respectively. So between the online quizzes and the tutorial participation is the equal weighting, 5% each. So what I did was I did a bit of a regression analysis between tutorial mark and overall mark. Now, has the tutorial mark increased? In this case, the overall mark has sort of reduced. But again, I think we didn't see sort of a trend, a defined trend. The data was sort of distributed, sort of scattered everywhere. So there was no particular trend between the tutorial mark and the overall mark. Whereas when we looked at the online quizzes, so there seems to be a definite trend between the online quiz and the overall mark. So it appears that if the students have done online quiz very well, there is a very likelihood that they will get a good mark in the overall grade. So that that was a bit of a high opener for me too, which I was not really thinking it's going to help that much in terms of achieving the learning objectives of the students. Now, why this? Why the difference? Now, tutorials often they can be very prescriptive, because what we do is we set up an example, a particular question, give it to the students, and the tutor will be there to sort of assist them. They may not think much. Quite often they might copy from their neighbors and then submit the solution. And quite often we don't, do a rigorous marking as well. We just give a particular mark based on, how they've done, what is the final answer. We might not really go through, rigorous evaluation of the solution. So the students, often can be, may not be active learners in the tutorial situation. They're just there because they want to get that particular mark. They're happy to sort of copy it down from other students without thinking much. Getting a good mark in the tutorial may not indicate their understanding of the material. Whereas online quizzes, initially we did think that with the online quizzes, they might collaborate, they might sort of, come together and do the quizzes as a group rather than individual, which might defeat the purpose. But looks like, based on the data, it looks like they're really taking it serious. They're trying to sort of understand the material before doing the quiz. Probably it also promotes a bit of independent thinking. Again, I think these things has to be sort of, checked again and again, I suppose. And also what we do is to prevent, the collusion, we present the questions in a random order, which sort of, makes students to sort of study before doing the quiz. So, so I think, the online quizzes, does contribute to the understanding of the material, what we teach in engineering. Now I looked at in a bit more analysis of the quizzes and the tutorials. Now the percentage distribution of cohorts who failed the quizzes. So you can see that there is, the 63% failed the unit, and about 37% passed the unit. And no credit, no distinction, no HDs in that cohort. Whereas the percentage distribution of cohorts who passed the quizzes, the failure rate was lesser than 24%, and obviously more students passed that the unit, 64%, and there are some credit and distinction students as well. Now that clearly shows doing well in the online quizzes does have some benefits for the students in terms of understanding the material, and also probably there could be a bit more deeper understanding of the subject content, which goes towards achieving the learning objectives of the unit. Whereas when I looked at the tutorial participation, you can see that there is no real relationship here. Those who passed the tutorial, the higher percentage failed as well. So whether the tutorials are really helping students to understand and do well in the final exam, cannot be really proven with this data. So there is a higher failure rate now who passed the tutorial. With that, we can say that the online quizzes are more effective in achieving that the learning objectives are met for some of these students. Okay, so the discuss some of these is more, online quizzes. I think is more effective, but again, this is just a one-off study. One-off study. Probably we need to do this a few times in order to form on some of these conclusions. Now, just quickly, I'll look at some of the examples which are set up on the GoSoapBox. you already got the experience of GoSoapBox now because you just participated in that particular event now. In the lectures again, we have got lots of these equations and the concepts. Now to sort of just put that on the projector and then we assume that they understood those concepts is not good enough. So what I thought was, let's set up simple examples on GoSoapBox and let them sit back and work it out and sort of put that up on the GoSoapBox, and then we'll be able to assess how much they understood in terms of those concepts. Now I sort of used it in 3 units this session, and thanks to Yasmin who sort of set it up for us. And I sort of found it very useful, except in the case of profession practice. Now the profession practice is a 30 unit, is very theoretical, and when I asked the students to sort of put some feedback, they said, what for? So they were not really that impressive about the technology, because there is not a major concept which we wanted to sort of convey in that particular unit. But I successfully used in the other 2 units, surveying for engineers and environmental engineering, and it was very useful. And quickly I'll just go through a couple of those examples here. Okay, in surveying, we do have lots of equations. I used, the discussions and polls. The polling is used when you got, the definite, 2 or 3 answers, where you want to select. You want the students to select one particular answer. But for me, what was useful was the discussion, because where I can sort of set up a calculation example, and where the students can go do some quick calculations and put in the answer. So, for example, I got one here. So, the students have entered the answers. And I can easily, quickly, look at those answers, see, what their understanding is. I think in this case, I think most of the people, most of the students would did the calculations very well. But in some cases, we yeah, so there was a wide, differences. So obviously that sort of, indicated that, the students did not understand that concept. So what I did was I went back and sort of explored that concept again. For me to engage the students in the lecture, I think this particular tool was very useful. And as I said, in engineering, we have got lots of equations and the concepts. Now, in lectures, quite often we understand, we sort of take it for granted that the students have understood that, and then we'll move on. After introducing a particular concept, going back and checking, how students have understood a particular concept, I thought it was very useful. Still, some improvements can be done in this. Probably what I would like to do is set up some, bit more deeper discussion on each of these questions that could, stimulate more active involvement from the students. Yeah, that's all I guess I wanted to say, and hope that was useful. Thanks very much. Thank you.